Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at part 2 of the Tripitz affair, a Tex Talks BattleTech video, and I actually got the name right. Seriously, I've been doing multiple takes so far, and it's like, okay, it's still coming out triplets every fucking time. I'm just taking a second to be proud of myself for finally getting that damn word triplet. Moving on. We recently got over the setup, which a mysterious, definitely not ComStar force is basically holding people back from a super secret, but also not really secret because people know about it, but kind of secret because they don't really know about it, ship that has tons of tech. And I may or may not be having a massive geek out over because spaceship. I find my reasoning justifiable and completely rational. I have no regrets. We're just going to jump in and I find my reasoning rational and justifiable. So we're just going to jump in. You guys know the deal. Link below, original video. Hit it up. It's Tex. You know he's good. Do that. And when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get started. Also, if anyone knows how I can get onto Tex's Discord server, I'm kind of interested. I keep forgetting to ask. Yeah, I should do that. Let's just jump into it.
After the Ameris grew, in the Civil War which followed in its wake, the bulk of the remnant SLDF committed itself to an exodus under the leadership of General Kerensky.
Oh, we're at Kerensky's time.
They took 1,349 jump ships and 402
Start of
warships,
the clans, yeah,
intent on leaving the Inner Sphere and the impending succession wars far behind.
Why did he go on such a
After the horrendous losses inflicted on the SLDF by the Ameris Civil War campaign, this was but a fractional remnant of Starleague's defensive force. However, it must be noted that for the record, each of the great houses also had their own militaries, and often those militaries were, in some part, patterned off the SLDF in terms of equipment, its use, and doctrine.
Okay, and this is the part I know I've made mistakes on earlier because everyone talks about how the clans are super awesome. And it's like, yes, they are, but also because they didn't start out that point. They kind of slowly improved. I'm looking at you, Clan Wolf, with an actual good mech design you didn't share to make everyone else stronger, although it makes sense in hindsight. But still, I'm still kind of kicking them on that one because it's like, on the one hand, yes. On the other hand, I get it. On the other hand, because apparently there's 3 hands involved here. It's like, you know, you want to win, but you don't want to win together. Yeah. Also, why they kind of lost that first round. And then won later. Whatever. This part here, though, where he mentions the other houses had their own militaries, and they were maybe not on par with the SDL or the Star League, but also they were really damn strong. And that I'm assuming Ameris Civil War is the first one that really started to fuck things up, followed by the second one, which really fucked things up. There's a small difference there, but it goes from really fucked to, oh, baby, no. And then there was like 4 of them from what I've heard. Yeah, it's literally just a cycle of, how can we fuck this up more? Let's do it. Also, ComStar. But it's cool to see just reminders. And I'm not just pausing here because I'm looking at this ship and thinking, it's so cool. Sorry, I love spaceship designs, and I just freaking cool. You can see little missiles and the like. Ooh, there's like an internal circular section. I don't know if it's just a gyroscope to keep the ship level easier, which would be weird in space because, you know, thrusters could do that. But also because maybe it's an internal walking section, because why not?
As Kerensky had feared,
you got it worked out somehow. That's easy.
SLDF had elected to join house militaries or sell their services and become roving mercenaries. All of this awe-inspiring firepower, coupled with ambitious house leadership and the dangerous power vacuum in the wake of Starleague's collapse, resulted in a series of wars truly apocalyptic in scale.
Yep.
The secession wars were fought without much, if any, restraint.
Yeah, they like to throw rocks.
Among all the other numerous casualties, by the Second Secession War, warships were thought to be completely extinct. One by one, they were destroyed in the great battles of that era. One by one, they were consumed in the fires of war through aggressive campaigns, poor maintenance, lack of spares, lack of repair facilities, and eventual lack of functional working knowledge.
Okay, first off, I'm sorry, I'm so focused on this. People told me that apparently the open entry port you see in this part right here, actually, I'm going to make that a little bit easier. this section right here, where you can actually see the entryway where ships would land. These are apparently huge ships. To give an idea, this dot would be a window. Like rough size, probably same comparison. This is multi-stories wide. So that's not just a docking bay. That is a smaller ships land here bay. Which is so cool. But then people told me that this is mostly artistic license because in the actual diagrams of how they draw ships, they actually do stack them horizontally back so that it's not actually going flat layers. It's actually segmented up and down so that the thrust gravity would, or like the thrust force would give artificial sensations of gravity. Because gravity is a direct word, momentum. So I guess directional momentum that you can't actually force, but they're still under the subject of is more gravity. Whatever. Still, it's cool how you can see how, yeah, this looks really cool. And it looks like it's a horizontal platform, but in actual art designs outside of artistic license, it would be vertical slots that would become horizontal in orientation. Just a really cool thing to see, like the difference between how it's shown to how it is. So freaking cool. Also, I know people are telling me these fins are heat radiators. They got spoilers on them. They got all the aspects. They're just, no, they're wings. And then they said, no, they radiate heat. No, they're wings. They're literally just wings. Although these are small enough where maybe they actually could enter the atmosphere. So this one isn't actually entirely improbable to actually use as wings. I mean, when you're moving fast enough, you don't need much wing. Like some of the fighters, small fighter jets specifically, can go really damn fast with very tiny wings. Look at the Concorde, for example. Other than its crashing problem, it had some significantly small wings. So these aren't impossible. If anything, if they entered an atmosphere, they would snap off in a second. Actually, they might be, and this is going to sound weird, too big to be functional. They look cool. But I'm not going to think for a second that these are actually there to just cool the ship. That's, no. I could see this because it's close to the actual there. Maybe even these, but these, really? They even have the external panel to help guide airflow. It's literally X-Wing design, which honestly, cool shout out. Stupid, but it's a cool shout out. Unless you said like, oh yeah, solar panel farm. Way too small and not functional. Cool idea though. Looks cool. Not gonna lie, looks really damn cool. Not functional, really cool though.
On their systems of operation. Yes, in the end,
there's a lot of them.
War had even claimed knowledge as a victim. Their last major presence in the Innersphere was the Battle of Hesperus II, wherein they were thought to be lost. Each and every one through direct action or embarrassingly catastrophic FTL malfunctions.
Ooh.
You have to understand that during the Secession Wars, the technology base suffered horribly.
Okay, yeah, the technology base suffering horribly. If I had watched this video earlier, it would have been more obvious when I complained about why certain things didn't happen, which were hindsight obvious to anyone who pointed it out to me, which was a lot of people. And honestly, I read the comments. Yeah, they had a lot of good reasoning there. But more importantly, what does an FTL disaster look like? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can look at that. And I don't actually know how FTL works in this sphere because in a lot of ways, it's super realistic. But also, there are technically working models of functional faster than light travel right now that NASA and JPL are working on to model, at least if not build, that would only use the mass of Jupiter to make a hyper, or I guess faster than light movement. I should point out when I say only the mass of Jupiter is coming down from the mass of possibly the universe. On the previous model, or it might have been the galaxy, I'm not really sure which one it was. It was either that or, still never in a million years possible. Because, if you used up the entire mass of the galaxy to move a small distance, it's literally defeating the point. And if you have the point where you can actually take that much mass to use as an energy source, you don't actually need to move that fast because you already have it. So it's like, yeah, tell me you can't do something without telling me you can't do something. It's that. It was basically that. More importantly, how does FTL work here? And this is one of those things. Is this actually clarified? I assume it is because so much of BattleTech is hard science or hard science adjacent, which is still very impressive considering most science fiction is, I mean, when Star Trek counts as one of the harder science aspects out there, I know there's a lot of people who probably just had mini heart attacks having heard me say that specifically. But yeah, think about it. they at least give technobabble reasonings where some others are like, ha ha ha, magic. That's the line. So I just want to know, like, are they working with the bubble principle? Are they just hyper accelerating? Is it trying to fold space, wormhole creation? I don't know. Like, these are all things that are theoretically possible. Hell, wormhole is technically something that we may or may not have had access to on a level that's so incredibly small as to not matter. Mostly because I mean that as a oddly enough accurate pun, because it's so small that matter is too big for it to be used. Yeah. Still though, I really want to know, like, would it fuse things kind of like in some of the crazed phase shifting conspiracy theories from some ships they had back in like the previous century? Don't look it up, it's fucked up. Or would it just be movement, or would it be an explosion? Would it be a mass reaction? I don't know. Or would it just be something really cool and stupid at the same time, kind of like from the Star Wars movie where they just crashed the ship, which, while technically it wouldn't actually work like that, was really cool looking, so I don't care. Because rule of cool is really damn important. I don't know, but if anyone knows, I'm actually really curious.
Each house was keen to conquer what they could and destroy what they couldn't.
Must be karate.
Entire planets were razed.
Yep.
Entire populations were deleted. Generations of research and development were destroyed.
Okay, the research and development lost, yeah. But let's be honest here. We've heard how they talked about, okay, this planet doesn't agree with us. Ha ha ha. Commit mass genocide. That's probably not something that changed much. They're just probably destroying more tech. People's lives were cheap in this worldiverse. Let's go with that. Yeah, I love me some worldiverse. But yeah, I know it sounds horrible. I know a lot of people died, but that's kind of the MO of how they basically maintained power before all of this shit happened. It just escalated how much. Doesn't make their method any less murder to start with.
Destroyed by enemies trying to deny their opponents any advantage. This was, to the best of their abilities, the great house's attempt at total supremacy. This was accomplished through a robust application of total war theory, and over the course of secession wars,
it looks like a bayonet on a chainsaw.
Humanity lost the ability to continue their ancestors' work. And in many cases, they struggled to bear.
Oh, I just realized what these are. These are mechs. Oh, and that's one of the. Oh, wow. Holy shit. Sorry, like, I've seen the drop pods, drop ships, whatever, in the spaceship art, and they're, you know, comparatively tiny. And I'm pretty sure this ball in the background is a bigger one. Oh. People said that they basically hold entire platoons, companies, galaxies, whatever the in-universe lore for it is that I can never keep straight no matter how many times people show me. Seriously, it's a problem. I need to right. But it's huge. But then just this. There's a term out there called ruin porn. There's other terms, but this one I think is the most fitting. Where you just get something that is decrepit, destroyed, and in the process of being torn apart by the ravages of time, on top of the willful dereliction and destruction that people have done to it. Which is what you see here. Like, I can almost imagine I know what model this is, but just seeing the insides torn apart, the sinew of the metal and the fibers, and just it was like moss growing off of it, showing the age, and oh, it's terrifying in its decrepitude. I love it, especially because you can see the internal sections that haven't rusted away. Mechs are really damn durable and kind of over-engineered, if I'm completely honest, in how long-lasting they are. So seeing one that looks this torn apart it's really cool in a creepy gothic way, which I never really thought when I came to a mech sci-fi show, game, series, kind of everything on those, whatever. But it does kind of fit here, especially with the lightning in the background. Definitely with the lightning in the background. But that's so cool.
They struggled to barely maintain it. By the end of the secession wars, the Inner Sphere was a graveyard on a scale known only to the gods.
I realize I'm talking about
it is no wonder that the Inner Sphere lost much more than peace.
Yeah.
They'd ruined nearly every major technological advance they had made.
And there's a random person.
Through their territorial ambitions and avarice. The great houses of the Inner Sphere had burned everything they
a Starleague
inherited for the dream of controlling it all. Sadly, as it turns out, when all the rules of war go out the window.
I'm guessing that's Combine. I could be mistaken. I'm trying to see if I can recognize the symbols. But seriously? I love me some dick laser. It's not quite there, but it's close enough. It's like, yes, taste my pelvic thrust. Really? This guy back here, though, you see the glow. He actually has honest-to-God nipple lasers. It's a cool mech design. It's closer to the Gundam design that I just have a massive fanboy crush on. But really, I'm guessing this is called the Elvis because it'll thrust into the next dimension. Elvis and a DBZ bad dub reference. They're not killing people, they're killing the next dimension.
It's quite possible to bomb people into the Stone Age. The loss of technology from this universal campaign of indiscriminate warfighting had other effects. The loss of warships meant that campaigning became a tedious, difficult venture. Houses had to now muster forces without the protection or force projection capabilities that warships afforded. Houses had to heavily garrison their worlds to prevent losing territory and resources to piracy, insurrection, revolt, or border skirmishing. Houses had to play careful defensive games, making war a slow, deliberate exercise in comparison to the blitzkrieg efforts of yesteryear. The great houses were reduced to a simmering Cold War that occasionally flared into conflict before settling into a slog and then an eventual, if uneasy, peace. The slow nature of this conflict taught all the great houses to be wary of ambitious ventures, aggressive posturing, and going all in on any one strategy. Through this backslide into a more primitive technology base, a precarious balance was maintained. No longer did the great houses have the power to make
Okay, I thought that's what it was up here. Like when you look at this top section, it almost looked like residual burn scarring that was almost acid, and how it's pitted. You can almost see it more as heat. But then you get down here and just look at this. I love this. You could see where they cut away parts of it, like the outer armor around here, because you could see it over here. This part was eaten away, and this part was as well. But then they removed the lower section, they fell off. I'd say more removed because this is clean right here. The artistic detail right here, though. Oh, wow. Like just seeing the multiple layers of armor. It's not just the overarching layer. There's this armor. There's this one that comes underneath it, which doesn't quite match up to the plating here. So you can see that this is actually an internal armor section, separating the out and the internal working sections. And then you can see here, this one's a little dinged around the edges, but mostly functional. And here they actually have their torso, I guess, hip guns on this side as well, and just the workings. And then you can see the bullet holes. Oh, God, like how they drilled in, but they didn't penetrate the armor. So they might be patching them. Sorry, when it comes to just mech damage, it's not so much that it's really interesting in its own right. It's that the creativity needed to show damage, because then you have to conceptualize what the internal aspects of a mech look like and make them look maybe not functional, but functional enough that at a glance it doesn't seem fake. A la in Among Us Death, where they have a single bone. It's like, oh, well, that's definitely realistic. Because everything here is grounded in realism, so it has to look somewhat real. If it was super science-y magic, no, it wouldn't. But this is so freaking detailed and cool and imaginative, and also, you could, it looks like the guy's actually welding down the line here, so he just probably reapplied these. Sorry, just the mech art, man.
Unilateral war against their neighbors, or control substantially more territory than they already had.
Holding a
the loss in technology kept them more or less in.
Really in the future, they'd still just use forklifts? And instead of having something that actually holds them up, it's literally just a makeshift. It's a forklift holding just a wooden plank. I mean, it works, but really, you got nothing better than just a bunch of wooden boards Oh, God, sorry. My dad's a mechanic. I've seen a lot of parts shipped on these things. I don't even remember what they're called. They're just like that thing you had stacked up in the back because everyone ships them on everything. And even when they're beat to shit, they kind of still work, so you can take them and use them more. Oh, God, they're just putting people to do jobs on them. That is so not safe. Right, they're talking about things falling apart.
To gamble on ambitious conquest could result in calamity, and so
and
all
there's
sides
dead
learned
people.
to play
Well, like
the
I said, it
great
wasn't
game,
safe.
making moves carefully.
Yeah.
Disinformation, propaganda, and careful allocation of forces became the standard.
His face looks
Wars were now over a dozen systems.
No, it's a gun.
Not hundreds. The secession wars had strangely made the great houses closer to equals than ever before.
Okay. The guy with the Pokeball on his shoulder. That is one hell of a mustache.
And you have to understand.
Huh. Star League. Nope. ComStar. People in robes. Looks fancy. Magic-y. Yep.
Delicate balance at any cost for their personal benefit alone.
ComStar. Yeah, who'd have thought? Really? C is for ComStar and conspiracy. You know, there was a time literally just within the last month where I wouldn't have got that. Funny how I'm picking this up so quick. Mostly because I'm an idiot. I don't pick things up quick. ComStar did something. Who'd have thought?
A moment into Crazyland. Here's the thing.
Crazyland?
We're going to have to acknowledge at this moment that the Unisphere has two histories.
What?
Two parallel histories.
What?
There is, of course, the official history, which most everyone knows an interpretation of.
Okay, I get. I thought they were going like, wait, there's actually magic here. There's like two timelines. Yeah. It's like, no. It's more of this is what everyone thinks happened and this is what actually happened. Which is not really a huge distinction up until you realized people are going to act on the first one, which is usually fake, because the people who have the second one are controlling the first one to get what they want. A la ComStar fuck things up. That actually makes a lot more sense then.
A citizen of the sphere and periphery alike has their own view of history,
and
which
it's
makes
always
the
wrong.
government look great and others look bad, and so on.
Unless you're Curiosity, I've been told basically, no, they always suck.
This is the ultimate
even when they don't, they suck.
Happened account of events, and it's more or less an endless chain of shadow wars,
that just
grand conspiracies, assassinations,
what?
proxy
just
battles,
ignore it. Just looks cool.
spies,
cool. Is that
lies,
night? Just want to say that?
meddling, and madness. All moves in the great game of galactic politics.
Is that a person?
In the shadow history. So.
Oh, I paused at a really weird time. I'm gonna back up a second. That is really okay. So I see the boot, the knife, and oh, that's an arm. Oh, okay, and that's the face. Okay, it's someone in a stealth suit and looks vaguely samurai because they're doing a one-bladed side. I'm going with Draconis and Kurata more or less officially together or something. I'm still trying to get the factions down. Yeah, murder, stealth, murder. Kurata probably being dicks. Again, I've only talked to people who talk about those specific factions or how they might be one faction or they're somewhat not factions. And it's like, fuck this group. Fuck it. Fuck it harder. No. I don't know much about them other than literally every comment is something of, yeah, Jade Falcon kind of fucked up, but at least they're not. I still need to figure out more why everyone hates it.
Put on your tinfoil hats now.
Oh,
boys
tinfoil
and
hat,
girls.
yeah, that makes sense.
We're gonna open the pages of the
his
crazy
eyes red?
book and delve into what really happened with the Tripitz affair. The
Tripitz, hey, I was saying
story,
it right-ish.
Not just the folklore.
Dude.
So firstly, we have to talk about how ComStar is more or less the root cause of many problems in the inner sphere. ComStar controls all communication in the inner sphere.
The ComStar Guide Manual, how to be a super dick and get people to thank you for it. Oh shit, they are AT&T. You know, it's like, it's a joke because they're basically communication, so AT&T because they were the biggest for a long time, but then I just, the joke is too real. There is a line that you do not cross And it's like, dead baby jokes to someone who just had a miscarriage. It's like, you don't do that. This is not on that level because, dear God, what the fuck? But it's like, that thing we were joking about, not a joke. Oh God.
Sphere. Period.
ComStar the secret wars
banking,
AT&T is planning.
Being that the C-bill everyone has paid in is backed by ComStar's communication services.
Yep.
Everyone takes C-bills. Because H-bills or house bills are largely tied to how sane their government is
so
at
not
the time.
Very?
And considering that the answer to that question is usually between almost and never, C-bills are always the more attractive
20,000
option.
is the pyramids?
By the way, before you ask, the current exchange rate from a single C-bill to modern US dollars is between $8 and $10.
Oh, and there's game year, so oh yeah, that changes. 26. Oh, wow, he did this so long ago. I know it's from Sarna. Oh, hey, nice, you put the source. C-bill. How come Steiners are so much more valuable? No, less valuable. And the out. Oh, okay. Huh. It's interesting. Wait, Karate. Oh, okay, I see it. So, oh, he even had the charts going across the board. So the C. Oh, really wish he had included also just current rates, source, game year. Oh, wow. 91, 99, 86. Oh, wow. Huh. They've been advancing the plot equal to how long time has been moving to some extent. Source year, current year. Huh. $5 is bad. Huh. So that's an interesting thing down here. The price comparison, it's actually getting lower up until you get to 1999, and so it's like $5 to one C-bill, $5 to one C-bill, $3 to one C-bill is the lowest I ever get. Then it jumps to 10. Oh, it's for source year. Okay, I see. Yeah. So everything is based off previous century, but in the current century, well, I can say centuries. That's interesting how the comparisons change so much. But I guess it does make sense with how monetization moves. And then 2008. Yeah, that would really drop things through screw up comparisons because money is fluctuating a lot. Yeah, that would do it. Still, though, this is something I really want to just examine later. I wonder if there's someone who just runs various ships moving money from one location to the other because of the transfer weights. Because when you have someone whose single bill is worth 2 C-bills, and then you can just take it over anywhere else, there's some kind of scam running here. Oh, that's probably how ComStar makes money in the background, so they always have enough. They probably just transfer funds around, yeah. I mean, they can control the communication, so they know who has it to start with. Oh, yeah, no, that's probably how they make money. Just scamming their own system. And no one can say anything because they need them for communication. Actually, that makes perfect sense.
To the C-bill. In case any of you nuts want to say, but the numbers for a mech cost isn't high enough. Yes, it is. Because that number is in Spacebox or C-bills. Tangent aside, let's get down to the hard facts. Who owns the actual monetary unit of exchange and facilitates its use throughout all commerce? ComStar, who runs the Mercenary Review Board, which is the only reasonable and reliable way to hire mercenaries, rate their services, and ensure you don't get ripped off.
Review board?
ComStar.
Oh.
Who listens to all communications traffic and probably reads every message. ComStar.
Yeah.
What about reports of unexplained phenomena, especially those which target technological discoveries or rediscoveries? ComStar.
Damn. I paused at a very, very freaky moment. The breach, the person's being blown through by the debris that's going through him, and then the other two are just getting dragged out into the void. Oh, wow, that's actually kind of fucked up. What I was going to say is, I didn't realize they actually vetted mercenaries for people. Yeah, that's what kind of stopped me. There was like, wait, they vet the mercenaries that everyone uses. Oh dear God, they're literally the fantasy trope of a guild that everyone hires from. It's funny, up until you realize, considering their magic bent, it fits a lot better than it should. They are literally a fantasy guild up until the timeline progresses and they do more than just have a conspiracy. Hell, even in some fantasies where it turns out the people making all the jobs are the bad guy, this fits really well. It disturbingly well. I'm actually a little freaked out how well that fits. I mean, I thought it was just their entire look about how, hey, we're going to be cultists in space. And not be Cthulhu, oddly enough. But they're actually functioning like a guild by doing all of the services, having complete control, and everyone just kind of sitting like, yeah, this is fine.
What about reports of people, mostly scientists and free thinkers, disappearing for no good reason, often after announcing they made a breakthrough?
Yeah.
ComStar. What about
Honestly,
reports of
just
people dying suddenly of very completely natural diseases that were totally undiagnosed up to that point? ComStar.
Yeah, a naturally occurring bullet wound.
Because, well, ComStar sees all, does all.
Yeah.
Find the clans before they found us? Well, ComStar also did that. Kind of. That's a complex one.
They did, but kind of failed, but didn't.
Boy, did they screw up.
Even I know that's a weird one.
I'll be honest. They're kind of to blame for the clan invasion, and as a matter of fact...
Yeah. ComStar to blame for clan. I've seen a lot of people talk about that. More importantly, this is weird. Like, all the art I've seen of the Mad Cat, I'm assuming this is the Mad Cat, it always makes it look bigger. Because this is sheerly on human scale. One, you almost never see through the cockpit. It's always opaque to some extent. I think that's more of a stylistic choice. Two, it just seems smaller. Like, I know it's still a guy in a justifiably huge area, but it looks so much smaller and undefended when you can actually see through it. Like, straight on, okay, this is probably older art too, but it looks wider, bigger to hit, but also at the same time, there's like a lot of open space where this guy's in there. He has, well, I'm assuming he's a heat suit because, you know, heating issues. It's so weird where having the perspective of seeing a person in it makes you think that the robot, which is justifiably huge, is actually kind of smaller than you realized. It's maybe only a 2-story model, which from what I've been told is actually the normal size. And some of the art that make it look bigger is more just artistic license or interesting posing. But still, it's just... I really don't like seeing the pilot. It does take away from the imposing nature of the mech itself. Which is weird, because normally I like that kind of little detail. But it just looks out of place. Yeah. Weird.
The way things played out. But just remember, when in doubt, ComStar did it.
Usually did too.
People start to scream tangent, let's stitch this
really, it seems pretty accurate to me.
Of the main narrative. Who do you suppose maintains a hidden, massive stockpile of weapons from humanity's golden age and ensures no one else can rival their primacy or upset the balance of power to the inner sphere?
Technically also the clans. Technically. Minus the upset primacy up until, you know... Well, technically they did up until they didn't. Technically. I mean, he's going with ComStar, obviously, but technically it's also the clans.
A stockpile so massive it contains a small fleet of very active warships, to include battleships capable of eradicating entire civilizations in an afternoon of idle button pushing.
I need to say something. When you're in space, eradicating a civilization on a planet isn't that hard. Like, I'm not even talking button pushing. I'm talking you don't need spaceships for that. We have the capability on Earth right now to do that. And I'm not talking about nukes. I mean, we just send out a few probes into the, I think, not even the Kuiper belt, but like just the asteroid belt, find a few big chunks, and just float near them. Not land on them, float near them. And just with how gravity attracts, as long as we can control the thrust on the probe, it would eventually drag that chunk of rock out of orbit, and we can adjust it then just through orbital mechanics of saying, hey, if you're moving on this trajectory and we know it'll spin around because of the sun, what would put it on collision course with Earth? It's really freaking simple. The hard part is having the precision control in advance when you're still on Earth, which, I mean, it's suicidal because that's stupid, but also it's completely doable. And when you have spaceships, you can get close to someone. You don't even need to do anything. You just need to park near it. Given time, you will succeed. You will do it. And that's if you just want to go slow about it. If you have supremacy of being in space and the others don't, you can fuck over a civilization really damn fast. It's not hard. seriously, I keep talking about dropping rocks. It's because when you reach a certain threshold, you don't need to really worry about things like kilotons or destructive radius. It just hits that point of nope. Seriously, just go look at some of the impact videos for what it would look like if not even a large asteroid, just a reasonably sized single asteroid, like a single mile wide, just a mile wide, hit Earth. Now, keep in mind, some of these ships are so big, they could just drop off parts of themselves. And any of these ships kamikazeing the planet, if they're durable enough to survive re-entry, could theoretically, at speed, do something similar. Destroying a planet is not hard. Destroying a civilization on a single planet is not hard. Now, if you have multiple planets and multiple systems, and there's more, space elements, it gets harder. But I can't point out enough how easy it is to destroy a single planet if you have achieved orbital supremacy. It is not hard. So it's always one of the reasons, like, yeah, but also, no. I know everyone's talking about how, like, yeah, they got rid of the jump ships. They can't really send, like, nukes anymore, destroy it from orbit with lasers and rockets. Like, you don't need that. You don't need any of that. You just need a big rock. If you can contain the rock within your ship and then just drop it, it will do the rest. You don't need anything else. Like, you don't need a warship. You just need a rock. Now, a warship's faster because it can then jump out again. But if you have a big enough rock, fuck it. Yeah. Which is, from what I heard, actually what happened in the Second Civil War, where they just destroyed everything and then they lost the ability to do this kind of stuff. And I think the reason they don't do it now is because they realized, you know what, maybe going suicidal all the way to the point of actually destroying our species is a bad idea. It always comes down to this, because every time people talk, it's like, yes, weapons can do that, but rocks are pretty damn powerful. If you get a big enough one, if you can transport a big enough one, you don't really need much. You don't really need weapons when big rock crushes you. Rocks fall, everybody dies is accurate when you get to space travel.
Well, ComStar.
In space, not so much.
And you see, in 2979, ComStar had a big problem. By 2979, as you now know, most warships were officially considered extinct. All data suggests that they were wrecked, gone, lost, missing, or rendered so crippled as to be completely ineffective. All known examples were rendered into fleets, in being, or totally ineffective and inoperative. By 2979, ComStar was beginning to relax because after this indecisive conflict, none of the great houses really had the power to wreck each other significantly further.
Yep.
Sure, they could always load up a bunch of their precious jump ships with drop ships galore and invade a planet, but without warships, or rather, without the ability to totally control a battle space with a warship, the blitzkrieg of yesteryear, the glassing of planets, the massive excesses of violence from the collapse of Starleak were finally done.
Okay, seriously, this part right here. This is probably the first time I've seen any acknowledgement in any of the art from BattleTech acknowledging hydroponics. Just green in space. Interesting they have it as a semi-attached disc over here. And exposed to space. I guess they want the sunlight. I guess it makes sense if you have it. But still. Really cool aspect that they included that. Also, yeah, you can see how it's layered down. So there's structures. So artificial thrust gravity would be going this way. At least I assume it is, because I'm assuming this is a different structure over here. Whatever. Still, it's so cool to see that. This must be the entire propulsion ring going all the way down. So freaking cool. Still weird that this is at an angle to it, though. Oh, it's probably because, and I see it. So it's clear here, but this one isn't. And assuming it has the same purpose, it's internal, not glass. Unless it is glass and it can be made opaque. That's whatever. Still. So I get it. So this is interesting, cool, but also it acts as a blade of armor for sections that you don't want murderized. Yeah, and that's actually pretty cool. There's a very famous quote that I don't really care enough to attribute because it's kind of bleak as fuck. But the next war will be fought with rocks. And I keep coming back to the point. Drop a big enough rock. It does more damage than anything else described so far. Also, you don't need orbital supremacy if you have a rock. Now, again, I've been told multiple times that the reason is because you want to get out. Makes sense. Yeah. And if you did it far enough away, then someone might detect it and be able to disarm it by parking a ship nearby it and then just moving out of course. Because, again, orbital dynamics aren't a one-way street. You can move something out of its course by parking near it. Because that actually is the way NASA is currently on Earth right now, planning to save the Earth if they detect an asteroid heading towards us that would actually connect. Park a satellite near it, and that actually would take care of it if we catch it early enough. It seems kind of boring. There's no, like, rockets landing on it. Just need to be near it. Yeah, that's all it really takes. Not much more. There's probably going to be something about how rocks were actually used. It sounds stupid, I know, but it's still a very viable strategy. If you don't care about, losing everything.
By 2979, warfare had turned into a series of endless border skirmishes, petty wars over planets rather than whole sectors, as no one was willing to risk further damage to dwindling examples of what was, in many cases, irreplaceable technology.
Finally, that changed, too.
Under these conditions, the status quo was maintainable, so long as the great houses maintained parity and balance.
And ComStar made sure of that.
Maintained by ComStar when someone did something they shouldn't, like try to rediscover lost technology or form overly ambitious plans. Balance was easy to maintain so long as none of the great houses achieved any form of lasting advantage. And in 2979, that balance was threatened significantly.
By the warship?
In 2979, the Taurian Concordat had found the SLS Tripitz.
Something that actually was the ship they used.
That could potentially change everything.
And that was part 2 of the Tripitz affair from Text Talks BattleTech. I know I kind of harp a bit on dropping rocks, but it just... When you talk about all these crazy ways to destroy things like glassing planets, destroying the factories, nuking them. Like, yes, horrible, but it takes a lot more money to build, and honestly, it's less effective than literally dropping a rock. I can't escalate to the point to say just how terrifying it is when you look at the projections of what a relatively small asteroid would do to a planet. Even from just moderate speed and moderate distance, maybe dropped from a ship, just projected, like a ship just drops it from orbit. The sheer acceleration from entering the gravity well alone is more than enough for something with enough mass to fuck all kinds of duck. I keep going back to that because this is a hard science setting. A lot of other settings, they don't talk about dropping rocks because it's not sci-fi enough. Where in this one, no, this is a very hard science technique and style and acknowledgements. It's just not nearly as fun, I'm guessing. Although if there's ever a video where someone talks about like, yeah, we threw an asteroid at them, I'm just gonna be like, oh, they did the thing. It'll be stupid because I'll be the only one getting it and enjoying it. But it'll be fun for me and no one else, which is probably why no one should do it. But I'll say, I like seeing this. I like seeing how it's very much highlighting a lot of the things that I had trouble understanding earlier because I just didn't know the backstory. People have mentioned in the comments that a lot of people came into the text series knowing most of the backstory and just getting more detail from text, more various aspects of it, and just elucidating what they already knew. Fancy words, yeah. I use that English major somewhere. I use fancy words on YouTube with it. But more importantly, it's just, I like being able to go back and see so much of the things that were kind of confusing me to start with, and then kind of getting it. Early on, especially when all-out unrestrained warfare was a thing, I think my criticism about just dropping a rock is a lot more valid, because that was a technique they were more than willing to accomplish. Because fuck all yo shit was basically the modus operandi. Also known as, I'm going to fuck your shit up, and this is how I plan on doing it. Thankfully, that is an actual description that does fit. Not well, but it does. And then, of course, after the other civil wars, they're like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do that. Kicked in, it doesn't fit anymore. And it does kind of fit with the clans, but at the same time, just there's so many time period changes that this is one of the reasons I think I find this entire franchise so fascinating, because there is an enforced stasis up until something changes to move the story. And that stasis is also forced to change with it. And I'm coming from 40K on this one, where there is only enforced stasis. And even when things change, do they really? It's just moved a bit. Like the lore says that it's moved, and then it kind of doesn't. Will it in the future? Maybe. I can hope so. They're making some good changes, but also at the same time, no. Here, though, it's like, yes, here's the enforced stasis, and here is the event that fucked it up. And I kind of love that. And just seeing it here is, I kind of wish I had watched, no, not even kind of, I honestly wish I had watched this video much sooner to just find out more about the players who are interacting in all of these aspects. But at the same time, it wouldn't have been nearly as much of a understandable piece because I wouldn't have had the context, which mostly I got from people in the comments. I know I keep talking about the people in the comments here, and frankly, how are most people who leave comments actually being polite and informative? This is YouTube, damn it! Say something random and racist and horrible that'll leave me life scarred forever. That's normal. I just got people who comment, it's like, yeah, here's the thing, and then it'll put an entire, like, novellas of details and information that's cool and informative, and, like, I'm not complaining, it's just kind of freaky, but it's like, okay, where's the other shoe? It's gonna drop sometime. Also known as YouTuber 101, someone will say something horrible. I've just had really good comments that I actually appreciate. Thank you, guys. That aside, I'm actually looking forward to doing more here. But I also realize it's, oh, wow, I just saw the time. I really should have done this earlier. Oops. My wife's going to be upset. We were supposed to do something half an hour ago, and I'm still recording. If there's no videos after this one on my channel ever, I brought it on myself with what I did today. Oh, shit. I should have been. Oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, shit. Okay, well, I'm going to go do things I should have done a couple hours ago. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later. I'm going to go get my wife some flowers to try and make up for it. Adios.